Welcome to the Rundown on A2DRadio.com. We are live in the BMW of Atlantic City studios here in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. BMW of Atlantic City, easy to get to. Minutes off of exit 37 of the Parkway. The ultimate driving experience is closer than you think at BMW of Atlantic City. A lot of excitement going around. Football is here, guys. Zach Burr, Sean Watson, Ralph Delavecchio. Got Tom Arnone on the ones and twos today, filling in for Mr. Sinsuti. Football's underway. Good football game last night to kick it off. Want to know what the excitement level is around town for the Eagles as they kick it off this Sunday against Cleveland. Think we're going to get some mixed reactions on that. There hadn't been a lot of, seems like the normal hype, this preseason and leading up to the start of the regular season that there usually is in town. But maybe that's changed a little bit now that Mr. Watson
called it.
You called the Sam Bradford
last
trade.
Wednesday.
And now Carson Wentz is officially the man here in Philadelphia. He will start week one, which, let's just say, what have the three of us been sitting here bitching and complaining about for months? The fact that we moved up the number 2 to draft Carson Wentz and this idea that he was going to sit behind Sam Bradford and Chase Daniel. Tommy, I know you agree. I've heard you say the same thing for months. You don't move up the number 2 and draft a quarterback in today's NFL and not play him right away. And
it was armed robbery too.
Yeah, and it completely. 100% fleeced the Minnesota
broad
Vikings.
Daylight.
I never said anything about another fourth-round pick.
Yeah,
I only said a first-round.
And we were arguing that it was unrealistic what you were talking about on the Bradford trade because you were talking about the first-round pick side of it. I said, well, listen, if we can get a first-round pick for Sammy Sleeves, I'm doing it too. But let's be honest, I don't think they're that desperate.
A guy that's been below and / mediocre quarterback all his career.
Except for his first year, who slung the ball.
Right, and my whole point was I don't think they're going to be that desperate to give a first-round pick when they've got other veterans out there that they could possibly sign for free. Hell, Michael Vick is talking about wanting to return to the league. Could have him hand the ball off to Adrian Peterson all day long.
The saying is true,
Who
boys.
knows what you get there?
The saying is true. Desperate teams do desperate things.
They do. Desperate GMs do desperate things.
The Eagles just been ripping everyone off.
Well, how about that?
They've ripped the Dolphins off. They've ripped the Titans off.
The Patriots off.
Howie apparently is like the trade master. Like he should be on the stock market.
Yeah.
That's how good this guy is at trading. We don't know if he can do anything else yet, but he apparently is, arguably the top trading executive in the NFL. He's found a way now this offseason to fleece 2 different teams.
Yeah.
My trust level has risen a little bit in him.
Definitely.
I'm a Howie guy now.
Still not so sure about Doug Peterson.
Howie up.
Howie up.
But, you got to look at this. Chip Kelly went and
don't bash my boy.
Listen.
Yeah. Good boy.
Chip Kelly went and let talent go. Yeah. All right? Regardless if it was Macklin walking, if it was, Deshaun, if it was, our offensive lineman. If you remember, Jason Kelsey, was having Pro Bowl years with Todd Hermans, with Evan Mathis, alongside. Yeah. Ever since them guys, he started unloading the chips, the farm. You look at Jason Kelsey. It's like he's not. He
doesn't block anymore.
He's
he holds.
A non-factor.
He holds every
dude.
time.
Yeah,
and he gets called for it about 95% of the time every game.
It's not just the talent. It's the whole big picture.
Yeah, he
let guys that Jason Kelsey trusted next to him. Jason Kelsey trusted these guys, and Chip Kelly unloaded the foundation. Yeah. That's
the offensive line still concerns me, and that's
but to your point, Sean, most guys that come in places and get the control to do it. Bill Parcells always said, if I'm gonna cook the dinner, I'm gonna shop for my own groceries. So, right or wrong, the moves he made, most guys come in and clean house, and now you can see the other way around. You take it to now Howie Roseman. Now Howie Roseman's in control now. So what does Howie Roseman do? He gets rid of guys that essentially aren't his guys, right? When he can. So that's just how I think that's just how the NFL works. Now, can you look back and say Chip's moves were bad moves? Yeah, we can look back in Monday Morning Quarterback because they were. To your point, but I think most guys do it. It's the guys who do it right and pick the right guys to move. They're the guys who are successful.
There's only one. Well, you could say. Fletcher Cox was Andy Reid, right?
Yeah, Andy.
Fletcher was drafted by Andy Reid.
There was one stud pick, and I'm still going to say this. I'm going to stick to my ground. One pick that Chip Kelly hit a home run on, and that is Jordan Hicks, 3rd-round draft pick. Now, he has to stay healthy. You saw what the guy did later. If he was healthy all year, in my opinion, I think he gets defensive rookie of the year.
We saw the upside.
And that's the MO with him. That's his only downside with Jordan is staying on the field.
But here's the other side of that is, we saw the upside in a defensive system that was Billy Davis. Jim Schwartz runs a lot more physical and a lot different scheme of defense. I like Jordan Hicks' upside too. I think he can be a great linebacker in this league, but I think you do have to still be a little bit concerned about how he will adjust to a Jim Schwartz type of defense. I mean,
I think the guy can succeed in this defense.
Tommy, what you just talked about, Sean, what you just talked about as far as the moves Roseman's making, trying to get rid of some chip guys. Tommy, I saw you on Facebook talking about it, the Eric Rowe move, and I completely agree with you. There's no reason when you have as little defensive secondary depth as we have at the moment to trade Eric Rowe at this point for a 4th-round pick when he was the 2nd-round pick in the draft. I don't see the point behind any of that. You need as much depth. Is it going to hurt him to keep him on this football team? You need as much depth as possible. Jalen Mills, is impressive as he apparently
Whatever
was.
happened to that offensive line, though? I mean, that kind of
that ended up being a false report, I guess. But as good as Jalen Mills has apparently looked in training camp. I mean, you remember the first couple of preseason games. He looked lost at times, too. So I mean,
brother, I don't want training camp heroes. I want guys when the lights turn on. That's when you play ball.
Yeah. And I heard you say this
to
at
your
some
point
point.
about
Eric Rowe can play in this football.
He can play in this league, but I'll tell you, listen, look outside the box about the whole situation. We got a draft coming here next year, right? He wants to get as many picks, period, in 2017 and 18 as he can to maneuver in that draft because it's here in Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
So what you do is you give up on a guy because you essentially have 3 corners that can play. So you give up on a guy and you trade him for a 4th-round pick just so you have more picks to play around with. And I think that's where GMs in this league make mistakes is overvaluing picks when you already have guys on your roster, especially young guys who can play right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, every time I'm watching a Vikings game, whoever's playing the Vikings.
You have to.
Yeah. That goes for the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Redskins, too. I hate to say it, but you have to have the Vikings lose if you want to get a top 5.
People are saying
Bradford to tear his ACL
right. Well, listen, I hate to do this, but I've been listening to the radio, and I'm listening to too much of these dopey callers calling up and saying, Our season's over. I can't believe
most of them aren't even real.
We traded Sam Bradford. Our season's over. We're on a rebuilding stage. We were already on a rebuilding stage.
I'm more excited for Carson Wentz to play football. I had zero excitement. Talking about excitement levels, right? You knew I had zero excitement about Sam Bradford starting this season as our quarterback.
I got to pull the chair up.
Zero excitement.
I'm
more excited about Wentz. We could go 5-11, and I would be more excited to go 5-11 with Carson Wentz than I would be to go 8-8 or 9-7 with Bradford.
Do we still lose?
I think you knew me to begin with, even with Bradford. I thought we come out of the block stumbling a little bit. Wentz has only had 37 snaps in the preseason. Right. As much as you want to say, we went 4-0 in the preseason, you're just going through the motions in the preseason. It's meaningless football. You don't really know anything until you get to the regular season. I think
it's just the rookies making their impression.
I think it takes Wentz a little bit to warm up and start playing solid football, and I think it takes Doug Peterson a little bit to warm up and get comfortable in his current role. I think it takes this defense a little bit to get comfortable in Jim Schwartz's role.
I see it different because, listen, at the end of the day, the big media outlets, when you talk about, to Sean's point, a rebuild. Yeah, it's a rebuild of structure and a rebuild of a coaching staff. But in terms of talent on this roster, most experts have talent-wise, I'm just strictly talking talent as a roster, as a top 10 roster in this league. Hold on, right? To that point. Yeah. I never saw a rebuild here. I saw a team that with Bradford that I thought in a shit division where you go 5-1 at, right? Because it's up for grabs.
Yeah, I don't think we can go 5-1 in this.
Maybe not, but any team could. That's the difference.
We've been averaging. We've been averaging 4-2, dude. That's what we've been averaging.
But what I'm trying to say is that I had this team as 11-5 because I thought that this defense can go get you. And I have this defense as a front 7, a top 5 in football. And when you can win up front, as the Broncos showed you last night, and you can go get the quarterback, I thought that you could take some pressure off of this offense.
Now, the defense becomes very good when you have a good front 7 and a good secondary.
Yes, and with Carson Wentz now starting, my excitement level obviously went up. My win total went down 1 because I didn't think Bradford was making or breaking because I thought he was going to get hurt anyway. Yeah. Now, with Wentz, when you go up to 2 in the NBA or the NFL, them guys can play right away. The proof's in the pudding. So if this kid can play, people are like, oh, my God, this guy's got him at 10-6. Yeah. If this kid can play in a bad division and an easy schedule at the beginning, especially getting off to a 2-0 start possibly, if you can, right, and gain confidence all bets are off, boys. That's all I have on it. That's all. All bets will become off.
Listen, I'm not worried.
And that's Homer. That's a lot of Homerism. But I'm searching for excitement. God damn it!
I don't know if it's Homer. It's optimistic, but it's okay. I mean, as Eagles fans, where are we going to sit here and be pessimistic? Like we're always pessimistic. So it's okay to be optimistic. I disagree with that on a couple ends, and one of them is. I don't see, and Sean, Ralph, me and you, let's see, we've gone through the schedule a couple different times here on this show. You two have seemed to agree with me on this end. This is a very tough schedule this year.
Definitely.
There are a lot of tough football teams. Hey. Tom, you can shake your head. The first two games.
Listen, but you can't do that yet. You can't do that yet.
You
know that?
No, you know that. You know the Seahawks, the Packers, the Bengals.
Do I?
They're going to be three.
Right. So hold on. Hold the phone for a second. If Russell Wilson gets hurt, are the Seahawks good? If Cam Chancellor or Earl Thomas or Richard Sherman go down, my point is you can't do that yet.
The what-if game with that.
That's what the season is. Every year you have teams. Every single year you have teams that come out of nowhere.
But you have to
Am I
wrong?
You're right. You're right.
Am I wrong? Wait for that to happen.
But I know.
If something like that happens, then you can sit on the show and we'll say this changes everything. But they're no longer a 7-9 football team or an 8 football team.
I know what he's saying.
That's a couple extra wins now.
Previous years, though, but this year it seems to me that we're having like the 1985 Chicago Bears. We're having the
2000 Baltimore Ravens.
Right. That's where I'm making my point. It seems to me we have the end of the year gauntlet.
Yeah, we do.
We're going through a gauntlet.
Yeah, the end of the year is just absolutely brutal.
But wouldn't you rather have it at the end?
Oh,
because that's where injuries can come in. In the play with other teams, right? But with a rookie quarterback and a new scheme and everything new, that's my point. I wouldn't have it if they start out with the Packers and the Seahawks, right? We're 0-2, babe. You know what I mean? Right. But when you can maybe get off to a 2-0 start with the two worst teams in football, that's where I have optimism because I'm hoping that you can get off 2-0 start. The kid plays semi-well, and now he's feeling himself a little bit. The team's feeling himself. Boom, all bets are off.
Here's the other side.
And I could be completely wrong.
This is my second point to why I disagree with that side of it.
There's going to be a lot of disagreements with what I'm saying. Of course.
And that's fine. But
we're here for it.
But we bring strong points, and that's really if you're going to sit here and just sit on and I don't really that's bullcrap. Frank Vespi does it all the time. I can call him out because he's one of my best buddies. The guy, I asked him how many wins the Eagles are going to say this at. How many wins the Eagles will have this year. He'll be right in the middle.
He wouldn't know.
That's what he said. He said they'll have between 6 and 10 wins. You can't go between 6 and 10 wins.
Way to go on a limb, babe.
That's a bullcrap, cop out of an answer. Bring strong facts to the argument. I feel like this schedule's too tough for us to reach 10 wins. But at the same time, I do like Carson Wentz. The other reason why I disagree with why I question how good of a start we can get out to is I really have a lot of questions about Doug Peterson with this football team.
I understand.
And we've seen this in the past. A bad head coach, or just an average head coach for that matter, if you don't have a good head coach, it can 100% completely kill any type of upside or any type of potential that a good, a talented young quarterback might have. There's two sides to that young quarterback argument. You got to have a young quarterback that has the talent to be able to play in this league, but you also have to have a coach to go with him that can help groom him and bring him along.
Hey, Tom.
Maybe Doug is that guy. I don't know.
To bring up Zach's point of what Zach was saying about Doug Peterson and not having faith in him, it would be like this. The divisional title game, right?
Okay.
The New England Patriots up by 10 points. There's 10 minutes left in the game, all right? Doug Peterson's running the offense. He drained 7 minutes off the clock.
Okay.
Bill Belichick, they got him on tape saying, looking up the clock and going, we're still winning this game, right? Because he just milked off 7 minutes on the clock.
I got you. I don't think it's confusion. Can I rebuttal that real quick? Because I know exactly what you're saying.
Right.
And you're right. That you can look at it and say that. But at the end of the day, when you don't have a high-powered offense in this league, and this is a short passing game with Alex Smith, you don't go vertical much. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying it's right what happened in that football game, but you can look at it and saying, to Peterson's point and to Andy Reid, if we don't score, it doesn't matter anyway. So, yes, did they take their time? Was it too long? Yes. Now, there's a lot of factors on that. So that's another football team. That's a different football team. So, I look at what Andy Reid runs, and I look at what Andy Reid developed and turned into. A lot of misdirection in Kansas City, a lot of screens, and a lot to Andy's MO. But he's changed it to even be more of a misdirection type team. I think Doug's going to bring a lot of that here. Now, listen, at the end of the day, where I say all bets can be off, because if this kid is as good as hopefully advertised, okay, he can make a lot of people look good and early. Okay, Andrew Luck made his coach look good, right? But the list goes on young guys going to the playoffs.
But hold on.
RG3, Mark Sanchez.
Mark Sanchez. You make a lot of guys look good if you can play.
But this is why. See, the other two are better examples than the Luck one. The reason the Luck one is just a terrible example. One, he's a generational player.
I understand. Is he though?
Yeah, well,
since then, coming out of
the draft, he was a generation. He was supposed to be one of those generational players. Two,
I know.
The other side of it, and you brought up this point. The two completely different offenses. What Kansas City was running and what the Eagles are going to run is a very, West Coast. We want to run heavy. We want to protect our young quarterback, play a lot of good defense. Whereas Andrew Luck and the Colts were explosive from the beginning, so it was designed differently.
And Kansas City had no wide receivers that catch a touchdown pass.
Well, yeah, and that concerns me out here too.
Right?
How much that's good.
I think there's a little more talent.
There's a little bit more talent here. That is true. But how much are they going to try to work them into the game plan? My other point with the Peterson thing, I trust him less. I mean, you made a good point with the play calling thing in the playoff game, but my other side of it is I question, we talk about, Doug Peterson being on the Andy Reid coaching staff, but that still doesn't prove anything to me that Doug Peterson had anything to do with the development of any of those players offensively. I trust that Andy knows how to develop offensive players. We saw it in Philly. We saw it in Kansas City. We saw it in Green Bay.
Well, how much stock do you put into a guy who's been around a lot of greatness, too? Now, that's a big question because you look at Doug Peterson, you look at Frank Reich, right? Two guys that are handling this side of this offense, right? Yeah. Both guys have been surrounded by greatness their entire career. They've never not been. From Marino on up with Doug Peterson, he's at Marino. He's been around Favre. He's been around.
He's got McNabb, too.
He's been around Donovan. He's been around Andy. He's been around other great coaches. So, been around Shula. I mean, this guy's list of being around and surrounded by greatness, does that rub off to you guys over a period of time?
No. Well, no, not at all. No, the reason why I'm going to say that is because 7 years ago he was a high school head coach.
Well, it doesn't matter.
I'm just saying.
You got to go back and start somewhere.
But I'll give you one better than that because we can run down the Andy coaching tree, and the only member of the Andy coaching tree that's had any type of success to this point was Ron Rivera.
Well, hold on, brother. You're just stopping. Hold on, I'm going to call you out because you just made your point on one thing. You went Andy's tree. I went deeper than Andy's tree here, Mr. Barr. I went all the way to Marino and Shula here.
But Doug didn't coach under them. Doug played under them. It
doesn't matter. You don't learn?
It does matter.
Oh, my goodness. You do so learn by being around greatness. Well, you stop it.
Do we all agree the best personnel person that he picked up was Jim Schwartz?
Well,
I mean, out of everybody on the whole team.
But that's why to this
roster.
Day, it still doesn't make any sense to me why Jim Schwartz can't be your head coach and you have Doug Peterson running offense.
That's probably going to happen down the road.
But my one saving grace, you made a good point about Frank Reich. I do have some trust in Frank Reich as far as, first of all, he was the offensive coordinator out in San Diego, and let's be honest, the head coach out there flat out stinks. So we know what was going on with that offense had everything to do with Frank Reich. And Phillip Rivers still looked pretty damn good last year. Even though the Chargers overall stunk as a football team, yeah. That's a testament to who their head coach was and Mike McCoy. But that offense and Phillip Rivers in general was pretty solid, and that was Frank Reich. And you want to talk about Frank Reich? He played behind Jim Kelly. He came in as won playoff games. He's had more success in the NFL as a quarterback than Doug Peterson ever dreamed of having in his sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, but you have Doug Peterson here overseeing everything. Right. But if you look at to both your guys' points on the assistants they brought in.
I said that.
Hold on.
Okay. I know where he's getting at. I know where he's getting at.
That helps. That can be my one saving grace.
I said that like last week, and he disagreed with me on a certain point.
No, I disagree because I don't know what Peterson can be, and it doesn't matter how good your assistants are. If you've got a head coach that's overwhelmed. You saw Rob Chudzinski out in Cleveland. Think of any head coach that's been in Cleveland for the most part for the past 20 years. They go there and they're completely overwhelmed. Mike Pedden, overwhelmed. Rob Chudzinski, overwhelmed. Joe Philbin goes to Miami, overwhelmed. You see a guy that's overwhelmed. It does not matter how good your assistants are. If you're overwhelmed as a head coach, they can only save you so much.
Right, but to his point, like I'll give you an example. Here's just a little example. Bill Belichick. Beginning of his career, and he made it well known.
He couldn't win, dude.
No, clock management. He was the worst.
And he couldn't win, dude.
What he did was he brought in his personnel clock management, a guy that just said, listen, I need you to – the only job you're going to have is you need to help me run my clock. Okay? He hired a guy, a professional, says, I need you to help me and run this clock. That's all I need. So the guy, he put in a structure. He hired the right personnel to put in there. And your point is a guy like Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz was a head coach before.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah, been around
Jim
it.
Schwartz is going to help him out. Okay.
Well, how much though? Because here's an honest. Because we saw this question in his most recent press conference was asked to Jim Schwartz. There was an offensive question asked to him about his thoughts on anything offensively. If he if he would if he could have any input on things, if he thought he saw something that they could do offensively to improve, would he say, hey, maybe we could do this? He says, I'm just trying to focus on my side of the football.
Well, he should.
Well, because he's the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But I would if Jim Schwartz and Frank Reich and Doug Peterson are all kind of involved in the day-to-day operations of this football team, and they're trying to make this a group effort as far as what's the best way to game plan and go win this football game. Maybe that makes me more confident. But I don't think Jim Schwartz has a lot on the offensive side of it.
I disagree with you. God damn it, no, he shouldn't. He shouldn't.
Well, he does.
Hold on, Zach. If he's worried about the goddamn offensive side of the football, that's not his job here.
That's fine.
That's not his job description.
I agree with you.
Then our defense will fail.
No, you didn't listen.
I'm sorry. That's what I heard, and I came in.
I agree with you there. I'm not saying he should. I'm saying if he did have some input on the overall running of the entire football team, maybe that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable because of his experience as the head coach.
Bro, but he takes his side of the football.
He takes his side of the football.
Yeah, but that makes that side of the football better.
Right.
He's handling that side of the football.
I've got confidence in our defense. I don't think we can quite be top 5, but I think we're top 10.
All right,
and the reason for that is I just don't trust our secondary enough to think that we can quite be top 5.
Well,
we've got a top defensive line in football. I think there's some question marks with our linebacking core as far as depth goes, and there's a lot of question marks in the secondary.
Yeah, I can question
as
mark
far
on
as
every
depth.
team.
Well, here you go.
That's fair too. You can put question marks everywhere, but it's still question marks.
But
you know what I mean?
To bring up that point, we'll go back to the dream team. When you went out and you went to get Jason Babin, Nnamdi Asomugha, you wanted to create this whole
Vince Young
wide 9, okay? You wanted this whole wide 9, and they tried it. They tried the whole wide 9 scheme, all right? Right now, we're basically doing the wide 9 right now, okay? But our like you said, our front is dominant.
It's lethal.
Our defensive line is a top 3 defensive line in football.
I think Vinny Curry, I mean, you're going to unload Vinny Curry. Fletcher
Connor Barwin off the end.
Oh, by the way, I can't believe he's panning out in this offense. And I think you're the one that said
I've got a really good comparison for this defensive line. This defensive line, I think, has the ability to be as good as the Tampa Bay defensive line was back in the early 2000s, late 90s. With Warren Sapp, Simeon Rice.
Right.
You had the other guy that was in the middle, McFarland or whatever his name is, that I can't remember his first name, but their front 4, their defensive line was a top defensive line in football. Now, the rest of their defense, John Lynch and the linebacking core and all that, was much better than I feel our defense is. But as far as our front 4 goes, our defensive line has the ability to be the best defensive line in football.
A front 7 can make a secondary.
I didn't think
front 4, because the linebacking core is too weak for me to say we've got a top.
Your front 4
7.
can make your linebackers, your corners, and your safeties.
Exactly.
Great.
That's
if you get pressure on the
because
quarterback.
if you get pressured at a quarterback,
and that's
he's just going to
throw
ducks up,
and that's what I'm trying to say.
Lollipopping.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say about that dream team is we didn't have that structure. And Nnamdi Asomugha didn't get the help over the top. I mean, he had Nate Allen back there. That was just, there's a fly in the field. You know what I mean? Like, it was completely lost.
There's, and in this wide 9, it's he teaches Jim Schwartz, teaches these defensive linemen, get up the field at all times. And which is going to, they're going to take on blocks, right? It's going to free these linebackers up to be in a lot of space to make one-on-one tackling. And that's what it's set up to do.
And I love Jim Schwartz's defense because they're aggressive.
Yeah.
You got players saying, dude, I'm getting hit I'm not even getting the ball and I'm getting hit in practice.
And that's what you want.
It's the best thing.
That's what you want.
See, and this is where my concern is with that side of it. That's why I agree with the defensive line side of it. They're going to do all that. But if that's lining up our linebackers to make one-on-one plays on the open field, I don't know how much I trust our linebackers to make one-on-one tackles.
But you know what I've been
in
saying?
The open field.
And I know it's preseason, but what you do in practice and preseason, you want to come back over inside the regular season. But what I've been seeing is 3rd and long. How many 3rd and long?
Well, see, and that's going to be
third
a big
and
key.
18, first down. I mean, you saw
the
last couple of
Bay
games.
Buccaneers
That
game.
doesn't happen right now in this Jim Schwartz. I mean, I want to say it's not going to happen in game 1, but in preseason, what I saw so far, it hasn't been happening.
I mean, the game that really stuck out to me last year was the Buccaneers game. It was 3rd down 13, couldn't get off the field. 3rd down and 14, couldn't get off the field.
And that's something that Jim Schwartz talked about specifically. He said,
great defenses get off their field.
He
said,
Ralph. He said they sure as hell do. And Jim Schwartz said that, that was what he said in his presentation. We have to get off the field on 3rd and long. We have to force a lot of 3rd and longs, and we have to get off the field on 3rd and longs. But that's where, my one big concern with this defense is I feel like we're going to be susceptible to the pass a little bit against good passing football teams. Mm-hmm. And we play quite a few of them. The Steelers, the Packers, the Bengals, the Seahawks, teams like that where they can throw the ball down the field.
You saw what they did in Colts. You saw what they did to Andrew Luck.
That's part of the concern for me.
Right. And T.Y. Hilton, he's going to get his a Pro Bowl, all-pro wide receiver is going to get his numbers.
Regardless.
Regardless of how it is. If it's Julio Jones, Des Bryant, they're going to do
that. They're going to do what they do.
The preseason is meaningless football.
Can you instead of Julio going off for 2 and 220, can you limit Julio, a guy like Julio, to 110 and a touch? Right. Because these guys are going to get their numbers. But, Zach, one thing we're forgetting about, when we talk about this defensive line, Vinny Carey, great point.
Benny Logan.
This is a prime defense for a guy like Vinny Carey.
Right.
Brandon Graham, another guy. Prime defense, hand in the dirt, go get up the field. But one other guy that we're not talking about that I laughed at people when they said wasn't going to make this football team, and that's Marcus Smith. Because now you're putting another guy. Now, we know Connor Barwin. We know Brandon Graham. We know Vinny Carey. Now there's a 4th defensive end here that can get pressure. Because, listen, he's a one-trick pony. He wasn't built. He wasn't drafted, Marcus Smith, to play a 3-4 outside linebacker where he's got to defend the pass.
He actually
and
played
rush.
Corner out in Cincinnati. Then they moved him to the defensive line and just said, go get the quarterback.
He's quick on the line.
He's got to put his hand in the dirt. But it's another guy that can get you 6, 7 sacks that it's just makes you deeper.
And that's part of the defensive line thing. There is the defensive line is one of the few, is really the only position defensively, the only part of our defense that has a ton of depth. Not only do we have talent on that defensive line, but there's depth going 6 deep that you can bring 2 guys in off the bench. And you're still going to have that. Benny Logan can come on off the bench. Fletcher Cox and Vinny Curry are in the middle of that 4-3 defensive line. And you could bring in Benny Logan to give Vinny Curry or Fletcher Cox a break if you want to and not really lose a lot.
Think about what's going through an offensive lineman's head when he sees that. He's going up against Fletcher Cox for 2 snaps. He's tired already because Fletcher's just mowing him down. And then here comes Benny Logan off the bench, and the guy's probably like, oh, my God, here we go.
But going back to Marcus Smith, okay? Marcus Smith, even though he was playing against second, third string in every game, he was still dominant getting to the quarterback. You saw the pressure. Okay,
yeah,
I want to see what he can do when they put him in there and he takes it to the next level and going against number 1.
Sean,
you know what I mean?
To that, right? That's a great point. Well, imagine even this. Imagine a guy who's fresh through the course of a football game, being brought out in third down situations. That's fresh. That's quick. Has the quickness. You saw the quickness come into play for Denver last night. Now, I sure as hell am not comparing any of these DNs to Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware. But just the point of quickness. Now, when you got a guy who's a hand in the dirt, go get you, Vinny Carey, Marcus Smith as your backups, you're in a good spot. Yeah. You're in a real good spot to get pressure on third down situations. Especially when you talk about Jim Schwartz's defense is not a defense that blitzes. They get pressure with their front 4. That's how they win. So this isn't Jim Johnson where he sends the kitchen sink. Yeah. So it's just a little different, which I actually like. So you're going to have more guys in coverage, and when you get pressure with your front 4, you can win.
The one thing I don't like about or understand about the Marcus Smith side of it is, we kind of got the feeling that the Eric Rowe move was made because it's part of, it's part of Howie's process of trying to get a lot of his own guys in here and get some of the chip guys out.
Shows you drafted Marcus Smith.
Yeah, it kind of does tell you that he was responsible for Marcus Smith, which he's already admitted. But to your point, we keep Marcus Smith because, it's just extra depth on the defensive line. Well, then why the hell not keep Eric Rowe because it's extra depth in your secondary? We have one open roster spot. You didn't have to cut him.
No, you didn't.
He could have kept him. You didn't have to trade him.
You know what's real interesting, guys, is that when you look at new regimes come in, and this is to a lot of the 53-man breakdowns that we saw through the course of the preseason by a bunch of different outlets, right? And you see a lot of different outlets that would write off Eric Rowe and Marcus Smith not making his team. And I was saying on other shows is that new regimes come in and they're going to let these young players see it, and they want to see if they can fit into what they're doing. Because a lot of things scheme based for a lot of guys. Yeah. So, okay, Eric Rowe, this is hypothetical. Eric Rowe, Marcus Smith didn't work in chip style of play or the defenses that they, that that we ran here, okay? Well, now when Peterson comes in, Jim Schwartz wants to say, well, does he fit in what I do? Right? Does Eric Rowe fit in what I do? Now, they didn't cut him. They traded him, okay, because there's value there. But my point is, a lot of these new guys are going to allow these younger guys to develop in what they're running. Now, if Chip was still here, then in your 53-man roster breakdown, you could be talking about Marcus Smith not making this team. But in reality, when new guys come in and new systems and new guys in the front office, even though he was still down the, he was down the hall a little bit, right. Howie, but, he's essentially a new guy. They're going to see if these guys can play out. So to everybody, these guys who do this and write these things for a living, are they effing clueless?
Yeah.
Like, do they think or do they write like these things because they know the masses don't like a guy like Marcus Smith? Right? I just something that I've always found interesting that nobody ever talks about. Like when new guys come in like a Peterson and they want to revamp stuff, but they also want to see before they revamp, can these guys work? Now, next year, all bets are off because now they know.
Here's a good example for you of that. Rex Ryan comes into Buffalo last year. Now they've made a lot of changes this offseason. Mario Williams is out the door, all those guys. But what's he do? He comes in there. There's a lot of guys already there. All right, let me see who fits into my scheme defensively. If you don't fit into my scheme defensively, or, I don't like, that, in Mario Williams' case, he got cut because apparently he complained about playing linebacker and having to drop back in coverage. Bye. Like,
Tom, the point where you were just saying, right, as far as the defensive outlook on things, you have like a guy like Bill Davis, okay, and I thought that he was just completely over his head. All right, he had this scheme.
You weren't alone either.
Well, he had this scheme where I was bringing up to him.
3-4-4?
It was called the 3-4-4, and what he would do is he had.
And that was against the Buccaneers.
He would have 3 people blitz, okay, 3, right? So Fletcher, we're going to team you up and we'll put you aside.
I think Ryan told him this.
No. This is by studying film.
I like your style.
3.
You had Ryan study together.
You had 3. You had 4 linebackers, and then you would bring back. It's more or less prevent defense. So that's the best case scenario. Prevent. We're going to drop back in coverage. That's why a lot of these guys, and when that happens, we're going to dump some screens off. You have Doug Martin run 45 yards down the field for a touchdown. And how did that happen? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. What you were just saying about Tampa Bay. Doug Martin, there's no way he can get yards like that.
Yeah, Sean, because when you blitz 3 and you don't get there,
right,
and there is dump offs for 5
yards. Your best guys get double covered every time.
And guess what happens? Not only to that, where you got double covered, but now you get a guy open in space, and in a prevent style where now linemen get down the field, other wide receivers get down the field. Now you put a guy with talent, any guy with talent in this league in space, they're going to make plays.
Right. I got another one. How about the Dallas Cowboys game against Bradley Fletcher when Dez Bryant, when Tony Romo was looking over at Dez Bryant and giving him a thumbs up, and he scored 3 touchdowns. He's doing the Illuminati signs and everything else in the back of the end zone.
Can you finish inside the 30s is the big thing anymore. Can you stop 30 to 30 football?
You got to change coverage.
Yeah,
though.
but the big thing with good defenses is 30 to 30 on the football field. They get off the field. They let teams go from the 30 to 30 and make teams settle for field goals and not touchdowns. And that's what the difference between really good defenses and just your average day.
We got to hit our first commercial break here on the Rundown on A2DRadio.com. By the way, Sean, that house in San Diego, has Ryan got like a personal theater in there that you can?
No,
there's
Zach
no
loves
personal
Ryan
theater.
more than anybody.
I just love pushing Sean's buttons around.
Sean.
Yeah, I know.
Not a theater. No.
Trisha, listen, she's a loyal listener, right?
Well, I got a theater, so let's move on.
We got a theater. We're brought to you by the Sports Outlet here at A2DRadio.com. For all your sporting needs, go to 703 Black Horse Pike, Glendora, New Jersey, 856-939-2030. Email sportsoutletnj@comcast.net. Go to their website, www.sportsoutletinc.com.
The Rundown, only on A2DRadio.com.
A2DRadio.com is proudly sponsored by Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants. Gibson Mayer, located in Yardley, PA, is a leading accounting and business consulting firm with a proven track record of handling critical issues with expertise across many different industries, including construction, distribution, hospitality, manufacturing, real estate, service trades, merchandising, professional services, and professional athletes. Give them a call at 215-369-3300. That's 215-369-3300. Your initial consultation is always free, and if you tell them that Tom and Mike from AM and the PM sent you, you'll receive 15% off all income tax services completed by February 15th. That's Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants, 215-369-3300, or visit them on the web at www.gibsonmayer.com. That's gibsonmayer.com.
Hey, do you need to get your skills in shape? Then contact the Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com. John Scanzano offers individual, semi-private, and team training lessons in hitting, pitching, catching, outfield, along with turf rentals. The Scanzano Sports Center is equipped with a 31,000 square foot indoor facility, 4 batting cages, and a 4,000 square foot strengthening and conditioning room. So what are you waiting for? Contact the Scanzano Sports Center today.
A2DRadio.com is sponsored by The Sports Outlet, located at 703 Black Horse Pike in Glendora, New Jersey, with over 40 years of customer experience giving the latest in uniforms and equipment to sports enthusiasts of baseball, softball, football, basketball, hockey, soccer, and much more. Give them a call at 856-939-2030 or send them an email at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit their website at www.sportsoutletinc.com for all of your sporting needs.
Hey, do you consider yourself the next Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, or Jordan Spieth? Well, head on out on November 5th at Valley Brook Country Club in Blackwood, New Jersey for A2DRadio.com's first ever Real Talk Invitational. $125 per person to enter, teams up to 4 members, and it includes all you can eat and drink and contests including longest drive, putting competition, closest to the pin, and the hole-in-one contest. Once again, it's November 5th at Valley Brook Country Club in Blackwood, New Jersey. The guys here at A2DRadio.com hope to see you there.
The Rundown, only on A2DRadio.com.
This is The Rundown, A2DRadio.com. Zach Burr, Sean Watson, Ralph Delavecchio, Tom Arnone. We're brought to you by Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, on the campus of King's Christian High School. Give them a call at 856-889-3434. Visit their website, www.scanzanosports.com. Tommy, weren't you up there last night coaching?
Yeah, I'm up there a lot.
Coaching up a little bit. Big, giant hitting facility, 35,000 square foot hitting facility, and not just hitting facility. They got a lot of stuff going on up there now, don't they, Tommy? Soccer and other things going forward too, right?
Yeah, wrestling. They got everything going on.
So continuing to grow up there at the Scanzano Sports Center. Got to check it out. Two quick notes. You know how both of you guys know how big I am on Vegas and paying attention to their lines and things like that, being able to tell you stuff. Saw it last night with the Denver game, right? Denver being a home underdog, that kind of told you that was a Denver line. Vegas ends up being right again. They win that football game outright. Vegas had the Eagles line this year for how many wins being at 6.5. So over under 6.5. And if Vegas tells me that the over under for the Eagles is 6.5 on wins, maybe we can get to 8 wins. But what I've been saying for a couple months, that's why I think we peak out 7 or 8 wins. I just don't know how we can get to any more than that.
I might have to put a Vegas bet in.
A Vegas bet? What's your Vegas bet?
Ryan Matthews getting over 900 yards.
I would hope so.
900 yards.
If he doesn't get over 900 yards.
That's the line, 900 yards. I'm just saying. That's
the
line, 900. That's what it said at.
And they're probably playing because the part of that is, one, he struggled to stay healthy at times.
That's what it is.
But the other side of it is, we're going to be a heavy run team. We're probably going to have multiple running backs touching the football.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what it's at because of what you just said. Because they think that his running style game is going to get him hurt.
If he plays 16,
he plays 16. He's still getting over 900.
Yeah.
If he plays 16, the other running backs are still going to touch the ball a lot. But he would get their 1,000 just by default if he played 16 games.
Speaking of Vegas odds, I just want to say that me and you are going to be right on something.
What's that?
The Philadelphia Phillies, far as games, it was far as the projection to be over.
Yeah.
Who is going to be wrong on this one?
Oh, well, Mr. Delavecchio had us winning 50 games.
I just want to say.
Tom, how about that for your boy over here to my left?
Me and you said over. Me and you said over.
Yeah.
We did.
I said this team could be 500, at the best.
We said over 63, right?
Yeah, I said they could win 80 games, and he said they're going to win 50 ball games.
But the line, I believe the line was, I think the line was what, 64, 63?
66 or 68 or something like that.
But me and you both said over. He's like, no way.
Yeah, they're going to win 50 games. The other line I want to talk about real quick. Yeah. It's the line for this Sunday's Eagles game. Really starting to scare me. Now, I just went out on a limb and said we're going to start at 0-3 just because, hell, if we started 0-3, I can sit here and say I claim that one. I'm not really rooting for that to happen, but, you got to make a prediction. I think we stumble coming out of the blocks a little bit.
No way.
And don't play our – listen, it's unlikely that we go 0-3. We're going to win one of those 3 football games, hopefully more.
Hopefully, yeah.
But I still think that we're not going to hit our peak and start playing our best football till week 8, 9, or 10.
I got a question for you. Would you rather lose this week but beat the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I can't see the Eagles.
I'm just saying. Would you rather lose this week? But
you picked them to lose to the Cleveland Browns. Hold on, we'll get into. Hold on, we'll get into. But the line I'm talking about is the Eagles were a 7-point favorite, a touchdown favorite at the start of this week. That line is now dropped to 3.5. The smart money's coming in on Cleveland. That tells me Vegas thinks Cleveland's going to win this football game. I listen to Vegas. Vegas is a hell of a lot smarter than me. If they think Cleveland wins this football game, it scares me. It's the reason I picked Atlanta last year to win on opening week against us.
It's at 4.5 now?
It's at 3.5.
3.5.
It's dropped under 4. And it's the same reason I picked Atlanta to beat us last year opening week, because that line dropped a lot in the final few days before the game. Same thing's happening this week. Vegas tells me Cleveland's going to win this game. Now, Ralph, back to you. Did he not say, like 3 weeks ago when we had this conversation, and me and you put the pressure on him, he said Cleveland was going to beat us week 1?
I said this. I said I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles lose. Yes, I did. I said I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles lose to the Browns, but I have the Eagles winning.
Well, the Eagles always played down the competition.
We pressured him. Me and you pressured him. We said, no, you can't pick that. We're asking you who's going to win or lose that game. Right. You got to give us a clear answer. And he said we were going to lose. Do you remember it that way?
Yeah. But you want to know something? I don't want it to happen. But a scenario I just brought up to you, I could see them actually, losing to Cleveland, everyone getting down, and then they playing up to Pittsburgh and beating Pittsburgh because they always beat teams. Like look at New England.
Pittsburgh.
They just lost. They lost to
Lions
Tampa Bay. They got smoked against Lions on Thanksgiving. Okay, we went through a gauntlet. They were losing to bad teams, and they go and beat the Patriots in New England.
Well, Pittsburgh has that game as the game that's kind of written all over it. Early in the season, Pittsburgh's a Super Bowl contender this year in the AFC.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Especially once they get all their pieces back. But that game has, that game written all over it, whereas the one game you can circle on the schedule each year and say you shouldn't win that football game, but it's likely that's the one football game this year that we probably shouldn't win, that we will.
Right.
Now, my concern with that is that's a good theory because every year it has it. You have it happen just like we did last year with New England.
Right.
But my concern with that is we've got a lot of games on the schedule that could be that football game, and 4 of them.
Green Bay,
you play
Seattle.
4. You play 4 in a row late in the year. You go Seattle, Green Bay, Cincinnati, Minnesota. And really, out of those 4 games, the Minnesota game is probably the game that you're thinking you have the best chance to win.
And we're going to play up because of Sam Bradford.
So, my thing is I would rather lose the Pittsburgh game and win one of those games late in the year when I think we're playing our best football. Because you think about it, late in the year, you might be in a position where in a crappy NFC East, even though I don't think, we're going to win, be there at the end to win the NFC East, I don't think 8 wins will win us the NFC East this year. Come week 12 or 13, you're still going to be right in the muck of things. I say the muck of things because it's not going to be any good. It's going to be muck all the way around, but you're still going to be in the conversation as far as the 3 teams at the top of the division competing for that spot. So I'd rather get a little hot and have the momentum be strong at the end of the year and play well and win one of those football games. Because now, Tommy, to your point, you're talking about if there are 9 or 10 wins on this schedule, that's where you can start to put pressure on the other teams in the division. They have to try to win down the stretch because we won one of those games.
About the 7.5 point line to start, or 7.
7 points. It's got the 3.5.
That was when obviously Bradford was still here.
Right,
that's when that line came out.
Yeah.
So what happens is you can get it at 7. Bradford's down. Obviously, money came in on Cleveland. So all that's really doing is trying to even out the betting field in Vegas. I wouldn't even go as smart money, but it's going to drop because of a rookie quarterback in the unknown.
Right.
So what they're trying to do is, they're trying to get people to even out the money a little bit and have people take the Eagles because now it's down to 3.5. So that's sort of like a little bit of that factor as well.
It's just a trend, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't mean like I said, it's if you were to sit here and look at that every single time and say, hey, well, Vegas says that they're going to win this football game. Obviously, it doesn't happen every time. Yeah. But it's just a trend. And
still the home dog scenario, which is scary.
And over the past few years, I've started to pay a lot more attention to the Vegas side of things and how their trends work, and I've seen how much it actually speaks.
Anything over 7, they're saying it's going to be a blowout.
Right, you know what I mean?
That's how you got to look at it.
And I've paid attention to those things and seen how much it actually speaks to what the actual result ends up being. And all I'm saying is it just scares me. That line tells me, I don't think we're just going to go into Cleveland and win this football game and play better. Like that line makes me think that dog's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah.
When it probably shouldn't be. We're a better football team talent-wise.
Yeah.
But I just think that's going to be a really
I will say,
tough
like,
football
I was
game.
rooting against, and the reason why I'm going to tell you I was rooting against Carolina last night is because they're in the NFC. And far as I want, like, all the NFC teams,
right?
Okay, they're playing against AFC teams. I want all the AFC teams win.
Why is that?
Because it doesn't affect us at all far as going. I'm just saying, for an Eagles fan, of saying, let's pray for a wild card spot. One of them type moves,
well,
you know what I mean?
And I get your point.
Yeah.
It's a good point. My big thing with that be this year is if you don't win the division in the NFC East, you're not making the playoffs.
I know, but
so
you still want that hope. You know what I mean?
To your point, because you never know what can happen.
But
if there's
playing
hope
against,
come the end of the year.
But there's nothing as far as like, okay, say happens if a team plays against Oakland, right? An NFC team. I'm rooting for Oakland. I mean, I don't care about Oakland. I'm rooting for Oakland because I don't want the, you know what I mean? As far as if it's a Giants, I don't care if it's even Minnesota. First of all, we're going to be rooting against Minnesota every single game. So you want Minnesota to lose to Oakland or whoever they play. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're going to be an Oakland fan that day. I mean, it's just going to happen.
Well, and to one of the points I made earlier is, come the end of the year, if I feel like we're going to play our best football in the second half, you never know what can happen if there's some injuries with a team. Cam could blow out his ACL or something. You know what I mean? The way he's getting, knocked around, he could break his jaw or have concussion problems for the rest of the year. You never know.
It only takes one hit,
right? And we sit here and it's hard to play the what-if game preseason, but there's always going to be that one team that was expected to be a really good football team that has all types of problems or some type of issues that lead to them end up not being as good of a football team as you think they were going to be.
And the thing with that whole, we'll get back to that trade, but even Minnesota, it's them fans, like they're built for 11-5 team with Bridgewater. For them to go out, and they were 11-5 last year.
I think with Bradford, they make the playoffs, but they ain't gonna hit 11 wins though.
Well, yeah,
they might get 9.
See, for me,
10.
For me, they
get
went
into the wild card spot.
Right,
but it depends.
It
depends on his health, Ralph.
And it's really like you hit it on the head too.
Well,
it does.
You hit it on the head.
Hurt. I mean, he has been hurt almost every year.
But
you hit it on the head too.
If he plays 12 games this year,
Sean Hill?
No, if Bradford plays 12 games this year, I still think they're a playoff team.
Yeah,
because
I don't even know that, man.
Because they could win a couple games against bad football teams with Sean Hill because they're not going to ask him to do anything. Now, they can't beat a good football team with Sean Hill. Like, if Sean Hill's playing us late in the year, I don't think they beat us. But
I don't.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't know, Joe Webb.
Football teams.
I don't know about that, Joe Webb.
Tuesday with Sean Hill because of what they're going to ask him to do, especially late in the year. Hand the ball off to Peterson. Really try to protect him. The same type of thing they're obviously going to do with Bradford. But if it comes down to having to make a play late in the game, you obviously trust Bradford to make a play for you more than you would trust a guy like Sean Hill.
Yeah, but still, he's still going to be a cold quarterback coming off the bench. He's still going to be a backup quarterback. And I know you got to study the film and look at him, and you don't have that. I get all that prepping. But still, Zach, the fact of the matter is All right, backup quarterbacks. How many games did Dallas Cowboys win last year with a backup quarterback without Romo? How many?
Sure.
I'm bringing a point up right now. What you're saying about Sean Hill.
The Cowboys haven't won pretty much anything without Tony Romo in the lineup because that's how much he elevates.
I understand, but from my understanding, from that point we were just making,
right.
I don't think the Dallas Cowboys won one game last year with a backup quarterback. Tell me what
they
game
won.
They won.
No, they won a couple. They actually won their first game with somebody other than Tony Romo as quarterback in like 6 years. Like it was like the first last year.
Was that like Matt Castle, right?
Romo.
Last year it was Brandon Whedon or something. They won a game last year with Brandon Whedon. It was their first win without Romo in like their last 9 starts.
The Dallas Cowboys went 4-0, bro.
You mean 0-4?
No, the Dallas Cowboys went 4-0 last year.
To start the season, right?
To start the season, yeah. I don't know about that, Zach.
They won. They had a trend going where they had not won a game without Tony Romo as their quarterback. They were like 0-7 without him as their quarterback, dating back to like 2009. And for the first time last year, they won a game without him as their quarterback. They went like 1-4, 1-5, or something.
So Tony Romo, okay, he didn't play week 1, was it?
I don't remember exactly which weeks he didn't play, but Brandon Whedon.
But they were 4-0 to start off. And then I remember after Tony Romo came back and Tony Romo got hurt again with Jordan Hicks, came back. I mean, I think how many games did they lose? I think they lost every one without Tony Romo after that.
Listen.
Yeah, they only won the one.
They lost
okay,
so the first game. So the first game of the season they won, and then Tony Romo gets hurt, and then they lose all the other games.
This might be the last time you see Tony Romo in a Cowboys uniform.
I mean, they won 4 games last year, so that was it. They lost every game without Tony Romo.
Back injuries, back injuries are tough.
But seriously,
especially when you had multiple
if you think about it, if Dak Prescott comes out and lights it up this season, that might be the last time you see Tony Romo in a Cowboys uniform.
Absolutely.
Forget about a Cowboys uniform. He's had 3 broken backs and 2 broken collarbones. He's
probably retiring, bro.
I'm just saying he's gonna be done in the NFL.
Well, yeah,
Dak Prescott's gonna be the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
Forget about the Cowboys. His career will be over because I just don't think he's gonna be able to play anymore. How about this? This is kind of telling a little bit of Eagles fans. Our poll question: your current excitement level as an Eagles fan. High, average, or in the middle, or low, 57% of Eagles fans voted high as their excitement level. Now, does that have more to do with Carson Wentz as the starter, or their actual excitement level for what they think this season could be?
I'm excited about everything.
I think it does have more to do with
I'm excited about the future.
Real quick, the Cowboys last year's schedule, they opened up and beat the Giants.
That was a Sunday night. That was that Sunday night.
I'm pretty sure he missed games late in the year.
And then he got hurt against us when we were home, and we lost 20-10 in that game.
Yeah, then Braden Whedon.
That's right. No, yeah, he got
hurt.
So
Whedon won week 3, right?
No, they ended up losing to. This is their rundown. They lost to the Falcons. They lost to the Saints. They lost to the Patriots. They lost to the Giants. They lost to the Seahawks. They lost to us. They lost to the Bucks. And they beat the Dolphins.
So that Dolphins win, that was the
one. No, the Dolphins when he came back. Romo came back that Dolphins game.
No.
Go
through the rest of the schedule.
Then they lost to the Panthers and beat the Redskins to finish out.
He came back the Dolphins game and got hurt against the Carolina Panthers.
They won 4
games. No, he came back against the Panthers, and that's when he re-injured himself, because that was Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they had one.
I don't know.
He came back against the Panthers and re-injured himself.
So Romo won 3 games out of the 4.
Look at the stat line for the Dolphins game.
The fact is, when he got hurt, they lost every game without Romo. That's what I'm trying to.
Oh, no, you know what?
That's my point.
Wait, hold on. You said they beat the Redskins?
No, they beat the Dolphins.
They beat the Redskins and they beat the Dolphins.
Okay, no, so you're right. He came back first. He came back and they beat the Dolphins. He got injured against Carolina, and Whedon won them the Redskins game the final week of the year. That was the one win.
Game.
That was the one win that they've had without Romo. Was the Whedon win?
Yeah, but the games that mattered. I'm saying when after Romo got hurt. They can't win. That's what my whole point with the whole Bridgewater
they haven't
thing.
been able to.
What you were saying about
here it is. Yeah,
dude, Sean Hill.
We didn't won him the Redskins game.
But
correct?
That's my point.
They beat. Here it is. They won the first 2. Then they beat the Dolphins week 11, and then they beat the Redskins week 13, and then they lost to the Packers, lost to the Jets, lost to the Bills, then finished out losing to the Redskins.
Yeah.
And in that Dolphins game,
Romo was back.
Dolphins game, Romo played 18 for 28, 2 touchdowns. So he played in that game.
And then he came back. It was the Redskins game
that
we didn't won.
So that was the Dolphins and you go to that Redskins game where they won 19-16. And in that Redskins game, they won 19-16.
What a
Matt
game.
Castle won that football game.
Matt Castle. Okay, so it was Castle who won the football game.
What my whole argument was, we were going back to the whole Minnesota argument on you're going to believe Sean Hill's going to win them some games for 4 games. We'll say 4 games.
Well, no, he can't win them 4 games.
If Sam Bradford, I'm saying,
but he would win them 1 football game in those 4 against a bad football team.
Well, no. I mean, in terms of Minnesota,
because
there's going to be games that Sam Bradford's going to lose too.
Well, as a team though, Minnesota is a playoff team with
Sean
Hill because they're just loaded.
I understand.
Whereas Dallas didn't have the talent around Romo, and that's why Romo elevated them
so
much.
Your boy Laquan they're saying right now he's working with the second string.
Yeah.
How far is he? Who do they have right now that he can't start?
Where'd you hear that? Because they talked about him and Diggs on the outside.
I just heard on the report, bro. I just heard that they're having. Now I don't know if he did something off field. I don't know.
Maybe that's because they want to. Is Bradford still practicing with the second team because he's not going to start week 1? Maybe that's what. Maybe they want to get him accustomed with Bradford or something. Because they were talking about him.
So
Diggs.
week 1, who are they playing week 1?
I couldn't tell you.
We got to look that up.
Yeah, we would have to look that up.
We got to see who they're playing week 1 because what happens if they lose week 1? I mean, it could look really good for the Eagles. I'm just telling you.
We're hoping that they lose. I
agree that Minnesota is a playoff team.
They play Tennessee.
Tennessee wins that football game. I don't care who plays quarterback for Minnesota. It could be Bradford. It could be Hill. Tennessee wins that football game. They're improved this year. Talking about teams that are going to run the football a ton. They are going between DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. They are going to run over everybody.
Yo, DeMarco Murray might be back up. I hate to tell you, he might.
Well, no, Derrick Henry's going to take the majority of those reps.
That's what I'm saying.
But I wouldn't be surprised if both of them carried the ball close to 250 times.
Do splits. Yeah.
Because they want to protect Mariota so much, and it's smart because you can play action off of it with Mariota, and with his speed and athleticism and arm, he's going to be really effective in play action. If you let Murray and Henry both carry the ball over 200 times, I mean, you're talking about beating up and wearing down defenses.
Also,
that whatever teams they play.
Another thing with the Vikings, their defense is very underrated. Their defense is going to make them go to the
It's top 5.
It's very. They're very underrated. They're very quiet.
Their defense is going to be top 5.
All the way around, they have a better defense than we do.
Yeah, their
defense will lead them to the playoffs. Sam Bradford's not that offense, not that defense.
And that's my whole point where you talk about. That's why I said the Cowboys trend with Romo is a little unfair because they rely so much on Romo to win them football games.
Yes.
That when he's out, you see how big of a difference is. The Vikings. I think Bridgewater was going to have a breakout year this year. He wasn't going to go throw 14 touchdowns again like he did last year. But overall, the way they win football games is different. They hand the ball to Adrian Peterson. They play really solid defense. They convert on points when they have the opportunities. Blair Walsh, for the most part, is one of the most consistent kickers in the game. And then he goes and misses a 29-yarder last year. And I made the comment. I said, I don't care who my kicker is. I don't care how good he did in the regular season. If you miss me a chip shot field goal to win me a playoff game, I'm cutting your ass. I don't care about the laces being in or out. I don't care about any of that. He needs to make the damn field goal when it's under 30 yards to win me a football game in Seattle. His ass is out the door. Yeah. So
you kind of sound like Stone Cold Steve Austin
I'm surprised he's still there.
Talking. Just how you're talking.
And the middle the Vikings kind of took that Steelers blueprint. The run defense. You know
what they did?
And have a good defense.
You know what they did? And that's a good point because you know what they did? Mike Zimmer's obviously the head coach there. Mike Zimmer came from Cincinnati. And you look at the way they win football games. It's similar to what Cincinnati does. Not quite the same because Cincinnati threw the ball down the field a little bit more. That can happen when you have A.J. Green on the outside. And, what's his name? Mohamed Sanu, that's now in Atlanta, plus Marvin Jones. I mean, those were 3 really good receivers that they had. So
but Marvin Lewis, he just, for some reason, he can't get over the hump.
They can't win in the playoffs.
Of winning a playoff game.
They had that playoff game won.
And that's –
they were moving on.
You want to know why they won't win playoff? You want to know why they won't win anything significant?
Andy Dalton?
Well, Andy Dalton's part of it, but to that point, they could, if you gave them a top defense, they could win with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's good enough to help you, to help you win in the playoffs if everything else is going correctly. The reason you saw they almost won the playoff game last year with A.J. McCarron or whatever his name was. They had A.J. McCarron playing good, but they almost win the playoff game against the Steelers. But Cincinnati will never win a playoff game because their defense is too undisciplined. It's kind of my theory that I look at. I'll compare it because we want to get into talking about the football game from last night a little bit, just because it was such a good football game. And you mentioned how Carolina was one of those teams that obviously affects what we're going to do this year.
How about icing the kicker?
Well, icing that worked.
It worked.
That was even more epic for the ratings.
You watch Cincinnati, and like you saw it last year in the playoffs. Pac-Man Jones gets completely undisciplined, does something stupid, launches himself at Antonio Brown's head. The helmet-to-helmet contact. There's a flag, and at some point, I think Denver's defense is going to bite them in the ass this year because that's the way they're starting to play. It seems like on a daily basis. Maybe it's just against the Panthers because they did it in the Super Bowl last year too.
Even Talib said he was headhunting in the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, and remember, and that's the reason there's now the rule of and we saw it last night come into play. There's the two unsportsmanlike conduct penalties.
And you're gone.
Is an ejection, and that's the Aqib Talib rule because of what he did in the Super Bowl. I don't like defenses. I like physical defenses. I like defenses that are in your face, smash mouth, a Jim Schwartz or Mike Tomlin like defense. What I don't like is because there's a difference between that and dirty football as far as defenses go. And what I don't like is dirty defense. And the way the Bengals play defense is dirty. They try to injure guys. They try to headhunt. They try to take your best player out of a football game. And this is not the 1980s or 1990s anymore.
Let me ask you something. Who was the defensive coordinator at the time when they were doing the bounty?
It was Greg Williams.
For New Orleans.
And that's the type of stuff.
And that's how Rob Ryan.
It's one thing to play physical defense, in today's NFL. It's not the 80s or 90s NFL anymore where, things were completely different, on how they wanted the game to be played. They've made it clear how they want the game to be played now. I have no respect for defenses that want to be dirty. You want to play physical and in old school smash mouth in your face? That's one thing.
Hitting you off the line. I mean, for the first play of the game, you go and you kind of smack the wide receiver across the face and let him know that, look, you're going to have – the first play of the game.
But you want to get up in his grill. You want to press him.
The first play of the game, you want to let him know that you're going to –
You're going to be there all day long.
First play.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to make – the offense uncomfortable. Yeah. You want to make them feel like I'm going to be in your face all day long. You will not have any type of breathing room. That's how that's what you want to do. That's okay in today's NFL. And in all honesty, I think the best defenses in today's NFL, that's one of the common trends that they share.
Right.
But these defenses, like the Bengals, like the Broncos, and the Broncos may be a little bit different than the Bengals because the Broncos have the ability to get to the quarterback, unlike the Bengals do. But when you look at the way they played in the Super Bowl and then yesterday,
the corners play off.
And you look at the way that that they played in the Super Bowl and then yesterday. For me, they are too undisciplined. It's going to get them in trouble at some point. There was a lot of missed calls as far as helmet to helmet hits went and stuff like that.
They're not going to make every call.
In yesterday's game, those calls will be made in a lot of football games, and that would have absolutely killed Denver.
They should be.
Well, 100%. I mean, headhunting.
I mean, there's holds, Zach. As far as holds, there's holds on every play.
Every play.
Every play in the NFL,
and I'm not as
holds.
really as concerned about that as I'm concerned. We're talking about the safety issues in today's game. Do all of us like it? No, we don't all like the rule changes that have been made safety-wise. But it's the way the game's supposed to be played now. So I'll be damned if I'm going to respect a defense that wants to go out and headhunt and try to injure guys. And you saw that. You saw that yesterday. You saw it last year with the Bengals. It was deliberate on Antonio Brown.
That's the thing. What even Tom was saying earlier about the Eagles' front line, right, defensive front, is when you have Fletcher Cox getting double teamed, and then you're going to have a guy like Vinny Carey or Benny Logan or Connor Barwin because he's getting double teamed, and you're going to free up other personnel.
It's always going to be a one-on-one.
But there's also going to be a lot of holds. Yeah. So a lot of offense, holding number 71. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of holds against the other opponent, all because you're. I mean, even when Fletcher Cox gets free and he outbeats a double team and gets in there, I mean, you're going to have to hold. I hate to tell you this, but you're going to have to hold. And that's where you got to go and correct that. If I'm Fletcher Cox, I'm saying, look, ref, I'm just telling you, I'm getting held over here. I'm going over and dropping to the ref so they can look for that. You know what I mean? More or less.
And that and we're going to go to a break here in a minute, and we'll touch on the football game from last night on the other side of that break. But that was something I was really surprised. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw the same replays I saw of defensive players on Denver launching themselves at the head of not just Cam Newton but other Panthers players as well and trying to shoulder pads to the head, helmet to helmet contact. I was really surprised that there wasn't more of hey, Can Cam going to the ref, Greg Olsen going to the ref, somebody going to the ref and be like, hey, can you guys watch for this? They are headhunting us out here, and you guys have missed a couple of them already.
I'm doing that. I know if I'm a player,
I'm doing it too.
100%.
I'm trying to milk every call that I possibly can. Before we go to break, your excitement levels. What are overall your excitement levels for this entire season?
I'm more excited.
I'm very excited right now.
Very excited.
Very
excited. We've got high, average, or in the middle,
high.
or low. So is high enough for you, or you want something even higher than that?
High enough is good for me.
High is high enough for you. Okay.
I've gotten my hopes for the Eagles team before, and they let me down, but I'm good this year.
You can't get your hopes up high for a win in the Super Bowl or something.
No, I know.
So what is your excitement because of Carson Wentz?
Yeah. I think with Carson Wentz we can win the division. With Bradford, I don't think we could win the division.
And I can see your reaction on you weren't all about this, even Carson Wentz. You weren't all about this.
Well,
but you get it now.
Right.
You get it. I can see you get it now, and you're more comfortable now because, okay, they did it. But you go back to the picks. Really, guess what they gave up? A second-round draft pick, Zach.
They got
we got our picks back.
Yeah, they got it back.
And the one thing I'll say about my stance on this whole thing, and you guys can vouch for this, my stance has not changed since April. Really even before that when we first hired Doug Peterson, but then we got to the draft and all this other stuff happened. I've stayed steady on. I haven't flip-flopped like the politician race that we see going on at the moment. I haven't done any of that. I've stayed very, very down the middle and stable with how I feel about this until I see proof in the regular season.
Yeah.
I'm not going to trust Doug Peterson.
Right.
Do I like Carson Wentz? Yes, absolutely. By the end of the year, do I think he's going to be playing really good football? Yes, but right away, I think we're going to see a lot of growing pains on his end, on Peterson, specifically this offensive end. I think we're going to see a lot of growing pains in the first 6 to 8 weeks or so. In the second half of the year, I honestly think we could play some good football, but I just don't know if we're going to win enough games in the first half for us to be able to reach that 9 or 10 number that I think is going to be the Giants and the Redskins. To me, one of them is going to get the 9 or 10 wins, and that's what's going to win this division. I don't know if we can get the 9 or 10 wins. That's going to have to be a lot of wins in the second half, and I just don't know if that many wins are there. Take a break here on the Rundown, a2dradio.com. Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountants, 301 Oxford Valley Road, Yardley, Pennsylvania. Give them a call, 215-369-3300. Also, remember the Real Talk Invitational coming up this November 5th at Valley Brook Country Club. Check out the tournament event on the a2dradio.com Facebook page. Order tickets through Facebook at a2dradio.com. Events, 200 Golfview Drive in Blackwood, 856-227-3171.
The Rundown, only on a2dradio.com.
A2DRadio.com is sponsored by The Sports Outlet, located 703 Black Horse Pike in Glendora, New Jersey, with over 40 years of customer experience giving the latest in uniforms and equipment to sports enthusiasts of baseball, softball, football, basketball, hockey, soccer, and much more. Give them a call at 856-939-2030 or send them an email at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit their website at www.sportsoutletinc.com for all of your sporting needs.
Hey, do you need to get your skills in shape? Then contact the Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com. John Scanzano offers individual, semi-private, and team training lessons in hitting, pitching, catching, outfield, along with turf rentals. The Scanzano Sports Center is equipped with a 31,000 square foot indoor facility, 4 batting cages, and a 4,000 square foot strengthening and conditioning room. So what are you waiting for? Contact the Scanzano Sports Center today.
A2DRadio.com is proudly sponsored by Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants. Gibson Mayer, located in Yardley, PA, is a leading accounting and business consulting firm with a proven track record of handling critical issues with expertise across many different industries, including construction, distribution, hospitality, manufacturing, real estate, service trades, merchandising, professional services, and professional athletes. Give them a call at 215-369-3300. That's 215-369-3300. Your initial consultation is always free, and if you tell them that Tom and Mike from AM and the PM sent you, you'll receive 15% off all income tax services completed by February 15th. That's Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants, 215-369-3300, or visit them on the web at www.gibsonmayer.com. That's gibsonmayer.com. Hey, do you consider yourself the next Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, or Jordan Spieth? Well, head on out on November 5th at Valley Brook Country Club in Blackwood, New Jersey for A2DRadio.com's first ever Real Talk Invitational. $125 per person to enter, teams up to 4 members, and it includes all you can eat and drink, and contests including longest drive, putting competition, closest to the pin, and the hole-in-one contest. Once again, it's November 5th at Valley Brook Country Club in Blackwood, New Jersey. The guys here at A2DRadio.com hope to see you there.
The Rundown. Only on A2DRadio.com.
This is The Rundown on A2DRadio.com. We're brought to you by Liberty Event Rentals. 267-314-7368. Go to 2154 East Cambria Street in Philadelphia. Visit their website, libertyeventrentals.com. They have all your party needs. Also brought to you by BMW of Atlantic City, minutes off of exit 37 of the Parkway. Go to their website, bmwofatlanticcity.com, or give them a call at 609-568-9200. The ultimate driving experience is closer than you think at BMW of Atlantic City. Football this weekend. We've done a lot of talk about the Eagles. We've started to get in to the football game. It took place last night, and I don't know if we could have asked for a better way to kick off the NFL season with a better football game. 21-20 win. Got a missed field goal that decided it.
That was a great game to watch last night.
Well, this is some kind of breaking news, but Trey Burton and Vinny Curry are listed both as questionable for Sunday's game.
Really?
Yeah.
For what reasons?
They're just saying
just questionable. So obviously an injury type of thing, but injury related, that just hasn't.
They're the only 2.
None of that was. But see, was any of that revealed after the final preseason game? So when did that happen?
It might have been practice.
Yeah, it could have been practice. I think Trey Burton could end up could end up being surprising for us this year in the slot. Could do. I
really like him.
Do some big things. Tommy, I know you like Josh Huff more than I do, and more than I think anybody in this room does. But I really think he's going to lose a lot of time to Trey Burton this year on the offensive side of things.
Well, I think that's where the misdirection and the play calling can benefit a guy. I'm not a big Josh Huff guy, but in terms of misdirection,
I think he stinks, and you at least think he can help us.
Well, I just think he can bring something. I don't think he's a wide receiver, guys. I mean, I think this guy was put in a position to play wide receiver, at Oregon. I think the guy's more of a bubble screen, end around, put him in different spots.
He worked better in the Arena Football League.
Let me ask you a question.
That's what he's built to do. He's not built. He's not a guy who's going to catch you 80 balls. It's just not who he is.
So let me ask you a question. You're bringing up a good point that I addressed to these guys last Wednesday on when he was a free agent, Devin Hester. Now, Devin Hester, you have a return guy that is arguably the greatest of all time, as far as that, and I think they're going to put him in the Hall of Fame. That's what I think. And Jack says, you know what, you can't because
I don't
for
think,
a return guy, special
man,
teams.
You got to do other things.
But look at this. You got a guy that it was the best that did it as far as returning, okay? Mm-hmm. And you want to make your team better as far as win football games by special teams, and that's what the Eagles did well the last couple of years. Now, you had Devin Hester that got released that you could get him for a cup of coffee for almost nothing. Do you go and you release Josh Huff, which I think he stinks, and bring in Devin Hester, but he just signed.
But your
Baltimore.
Your principle on this was you were going to bring him in the strictly return kicks, pretty much.
Yes, for the roster.
Because my point was,
But you were going to have your boy, what's it he called, that was going to be on the team. Kevin. Kevin Turner.
No, Paul Turner.
Paul Turner. Not right. Kevin. Excuse me. Paul Turner.
Kevin Turner. That's an old school Eagles fullback.
I know. I meant that's who I was thinking. I meant Paul Turner. Anyway, Paul Turner is now on the practice squad. Right. So what you do is you release. This is my plan. You release for the fifth wide receiver. You for the wide receiver you get Paul Turner. And then you get Devin Hester.
Just to return kicks.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
And my big point, my counterpoint to that was, if that's the case, we're just bringing him in the return kicks. I could see the point. He can't play wide receiver anymore. He could barely play wide receiver. He could barely play wide receiver in his prime.
He stunk.
You know what I mean?
Receiver.
But he could return kicks. But my whole point against that was I thought we had enough guys here that could return kicks between Sproles and Huff and even a couple Barner and even a couple guys after that. Well, I didn't see the benefit at bringing him in just simply to have him return kicks.
For almost nothing, no?
Yeah, even for almost nothing, because it's not like he's 26 or 27
Even if you brought him in and didn't like him, you can always release him.
Yeah. True, but do I want him taking my whole? I mean, you're not like it's a good thought and a good point. I just disagreed with it because my whole idea behind it was, why even take reps away from other guys that are going to return kicks when we don't even know how effective this guy could be anymore? I mean, he could be done and not be explosive anymore. I'd rather take a look at a guy like Barner or a guy like Turner returning kicks full time, or have Huff do that full time and see if he can be a guy that can, he returned a kick for a touchdown last year.
Twice.
Maybe he can be that guy for you where he doesn't have to play wide receiver because he can score and do big things for you on special teams.
Well, we're back to a young kid like we talked about that, an organization wants to take a look at and see if he fits in what they're trying to do. Yeah. So, I can see Josh Huff lined up in the backfield at times. I think they're going to try to, he's a fourth wide receiver on this team. I mean, nobody's questioning where he stands in terms of the top three on the depth chart, but I mean, I have him probably as our fourth.
What was it in the Colts game when they was they were on the 3-yard line? They used him as an end around.
Yeah, and that's all where about he can be successful. Yeah. He's not a guy who's going to catch 70 or 80 balls in this league, and you don't need him to if you have wide receivers ahead of him who can, and he can be, a situational guy that can draw some attention out there that maybe can down the road can free some other guys up.
Here's my big thing with that, because I mean that's not a.
It's not a wideout. I'm never going to say he is.
It's not a bad point because you saw they did it efficiently with him against the Colts, but my thought with that there is, aren't we going to use Darren Sproles in that role a lot?
I hope.
I would hope that we would too.
Why not the more the merrier?
So you want to use him like you want to use him in like similar to how you would use Sproles and just have a couple different Darren Sproles out there.
Yeah, because I mean, the guy can line up in the slot. And hope go across the middle with some speed and hopefully, have some catches where he can, make some plays after the catch. But now the big concern with him will always be, can he hold on to the goddamn football, which I don't trust one bit. But time will tell.
I think what they use Josh Huff. Josh Huff's
it's
not a guy.
Make or break for Josh Huff.
Josh Huff's is not a guy that spreads the field. That's gonna fly do a fly route for you. He's a guy that's going to do a 2-yard slant and catch the ball for like 5 yards.
Why don't you do this? And I know it's a video game, but even going back to what you love, Madden, okay? But even
don't bring the he bases all of his arguments off of Madden.
Even the formations, all right? True. In real life.
This guy's going to be the MVP this year.
If you go and bring Ryan back, just say you got him back, right, as a back, you stretch Sproles out on the side, okay? You got to bring him out because when you if you fake it to Ryan, you do a wheel route to Sproles, okay, it's a mismatch. Yeah. Because there is no linebacker. Maybe Luke Kuechly's the only one in the league that could probably, if he could,
Kuechly is the best.
Can keep up with Darren Sproles. But other than Luke Kuechly, I don't think anyone's going to catch Darren Sproles on that flat on the wheel route. I just don't think.
You saw it last year with the Jets when they did the two running back wheel routes.
Ryan did that. Ryan
he missed a freaking pass too.
The one was a wheel route touchdown.
Yeah.
The one that was he should have caught, and it would have probably been another touchdown. Yeah. So he would have had 2 wheel route touchdowns.
I just feel like being a smart ass at this moment. Right. Who's going to play in the slot? Apparently, according to the team, Jordan Matthews is a slot receiver and can't play outside. So all of this kind of seems a little irrelevant unless we can get Jordan Matthews outside and let him play consistently.
I don't feel comfortable with Aguilar on the outside. I don't either.
I don't feel comfortable with Aguilar at all.
Well, yeah, but I hate to tell you this, but for him to be outside, you know what I mean? I know what you're saying.
He's more of a slot guy than he would be an outside guy.
I heard the same thing you're saying. I heard the same thing. Right. They want Jordan Matthews in the slot.
Which I don't. Okay. At 6'3" and 220,
if anything,
make his ass play outside.
If anything, I'm going to bring Aguilar inside. I'm going to bring Jordan Matthews on the outside, and then I'm going to have, from my understanding, that Beckham is going to be starting.
He'll be on the outside.
So Beckham. So you're going to have Beckham Jordan
and Matthews on the outside,
and you're going to have Aguilar in the middle. That's the formation I'm going to go with.
And then if you want 4 receivers, you can split. You can split Sproles out at times. You can put Zach Ertz out.
They're going to go more or less, I think, a 2 tight end.
Exactly. A lot of times, I think they will run a lot of 2 tight end sets. Yeah. So you'll see Matthews and Green, and then you'll see Selleck on the line, and then you'll have Ertz split out as a third receiver. I think
Ertz is going to be helping out on the line blocking, but then they're going to have Trey Burton when he's healthy. They're going to put Trey Burton, and they're going to put Zach Ertz in there.
See, I disagree with that a little bit. I think Burton will see a lot of time in the slot too, but if they're going 2 tight ends, I think it's specifically you'll see Ertz used a lot like Travis Kelce was for the Chiefs in Kansas City, and Selleck, who's always been the better blocking tight end of the 2 anyway, Selleck's going to be the extra blocker. Ertz you can kind of use like...
Well, Selleck is going to be the blocker.
Like the Chiefs used Kelce, the Bengals used Tyler Eifert. That's how we need to use Zach Ertz. That's where he's going to be efficient. Big body, 6'6", 250.
Wait do you see what
Let
New
him be a receiver.
Look what New England.
Wait do you see what New England's going to do with Bennett and Gronk.
Yeah, there you go.
It's going to be like the old Aaron Hernandez and Gronk. That's what they're trying to do.
Right.
When they bring in Bennett, they brought Bennett in for a reason. Oh my God.
Gronk, and they can both actually block pretty well too. But Gronk's always been the better blocker. Gronk might be the best blocking tight end in football, which is scary because he might be the best all-around tight end in football too.
To be honest with you, and look. As far as wide receivers, and I'm not downgrading, Julio is great, and a lot of these wide receivers are outstanding, you know what I mean? But when you have like a position like Gronk that is a tight end that could do anything, that can run routes like a wide receiver, he possibly could be the best offensive weapon in the whole league.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a tight end that is a slash wide receiver. How are you going to predict where this guy's going? I mean,
three guys had to tackle.
That last year, that last 5 minutes of that AFC Championship game with Denver.
Yeah.
Did you see what Gronkowski was doing? On 4th and long, I'm going to catch a fly route down the seam.
They nearly came back and won that football game.
Dude caught a touchdown pass right after that. Yeah. I mean, he was beating Denver himself. I mean, got back in the game. They missed the 2-point conversion, but he brought New England back by himself. That's all Brady was looking at. He wasn't looking at Edelman. He wasn't looking at anyone else. It was 87 all the way. I mean, that's all he was looking at the whole way. It was Gronkowski.
It's smart to do.
That's Ertz can be a dominant receiving threat
if he can hold on to the ball. He's got problems holding on to the ball as well. This whole wide receiver core has problems holding on to the ball.
That's fine. I mean, tight ends in general. I mean, they're big bodies, and I mean,
he had the most receptions in college football for tight end for Stanford.
Right. I mean, I don't think his hands are necessarily a problem. I mean, guys are going to drop passes. I just think we focus a little bit too much on what happened at the very beginning of last year, which was a complete anomaly when you look at how many passes were dropped. First of all, Jordan Matthews was playing with a couple broken fingers. We didn't find that out till later.
But 60 drops? That's a lot.
That's a ton, but that's also an anomaly. That's not going to happen again. That's like.
Oh, let's not hope. Let's not hope.
It's not. It's an anomaly. That's like 2 years ago. Remember when we scored all those special teams touchdowns? Like, it was absurd how many special teams touchdowns we scored. You knew that's just an anomaly that wasn't going to be able to happen again.
It can't happen every game.
Were we good on special teams again last year? Yeah, but we were nowhere near as lights out as we were 2 years ago. I mean, 2 years ago, we had like 10 different special teams touchdowns. I mean, it was crazy to think about the ways we were scoring on special teams and how many different special teams, touchdowns we scored. Like, it was out of this world. It was just one of those anomalies where you looked at it and said, yeah, that's not going to happen every year. It just can't. It's the numbers tell you that it won't. So we're not going to drop that many passes again this year. But
And the whole Chip Kelly let's go back to the Chip Kelly schemes and offenses and what he had plugging in there. Okay, Chip Kelly, did he move the ball? Yes, down the field, absolutely. But Chip Kelly he wasn't big on time and possession. Okay, he wasn't big on that at all. Meaning, we're going to go and we want to score points. How many points did they really score last year? They left a lot of points on the board.
The only way that worked is like the first year where we scored. We were second in the league in scoring, and that was only because the Broncos broke the record that year for points scored. But
with Peyton Manning.
But with Peyton. But his first year here, we ran more plays than any team ever in NFL history, and we were second in the league in scoring, and we would have been first, obviously, if Peyton and the Broncos didn't break that record. So the only way it works is if you're able to consistently score and you don't have to constantly put your defense on the field, like the way they did it at Oregon, the way they did it the first year. The past 2 years, the offense has not scored at a consistent enough clip for it to help.
You want to know why?
Because the defense spent way too much time on the field.
Once they got you on tape and they said, "Look, this is what they're doing. This is the play." You know what I mean?
Well,
film. They look at it like that.
I agree with that.
All right, and you look at some of the Eagles players now that are saying that are kind of knocking Chip Kelly a little bit, but they're asking about this offense per Chip Kelly.
Right.
And Jason Peters is saying, we're going to give time to breathe right now. We can think plays out. Well, before you couldn't. You got to go up the line. All right, we're going to go and snap it. We're up line, go up and snap it. Jason Peters is like, we didn't have time to really execute because we're just going up there, snapping play. This is the play. We're going to snap it. And they're running back. One of the corners actually came back and said he actually had an interception that day.
The Bills.
Yeah. It was what's his name? I think McKelvin. McKelvin had an interception against the Eagles last year. Bills. They asked McKelvin when he got brought in with the Eagles, and they asked him about as far as what happened and with the defense and all that stuff. And you know what McCollum said?
Probably that they ran the same play.
Same play over and over and over again. Well, just different. They were running the same
that was my big
play
thing.
over and over.
It's one thing to be really, really up tempo. That's Chip did it to the extreme like we'd never seen before, but Warren Moon won a ton of football games running that system with any team that he played with in his NFL career. It was called the run and shoot when it first came out, but extremely up-tempo. That's the reason Buddy Ryan punched Kevin Gilbride in the face in Houston, right? Because his defense couldn't get off his defense was constantly on the damn field because their offense just up-tempo. Mm-hmm. And they scored a lot of points doing it. So it's not the up-tempo thing. I mean, like that was Chip did it faster than anybody else, so that part of it was unique. But the big thing that, for me, I looked at and said, the reason this won't work consistently over a certain amount of years is because he ran like 5 plays. He literally had like 5 plays.
Yeah.
They just flipped them, and they'd run them on opposite sides of the field. They'd flip them around. They'd mix up the personnel. And you run that play enough in a football game, any good defense is going to get on top of it.
I think it was 6.
Yeah. Especially when you try to do it against the Bills, and Rex Ryan is there.
Third down, we only have 6 plays. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Like, it was ridiculous.
Legit.
That part of it was ridiculous. Maybe the up-tempo, maybe he's onto something with the up-tempo side of things. But you're not going to do anything, no matter how you try to run a system, if you only have 5 plays. Yeah. You know? What is this? Remember the Titans? Denzel Washington's character talking about I only got 3 plays. And I only have 3 plays because they all work. Well, it's not high school football, Chip. You got to have more than 5 plays to win in the NFL.
And bringing it to another point about what Chip Kelly is, I can't figure out. Okay, we're not going to make this a whole big thing on Colin Kaepernick and stuff like that. But we all agree the guy stinks, correct?
Colin Kaepernick?
Do you agree he stinks?
Yeah, he can't. He can't. Jim Harbaugh, he had all the success because of Jim Harbaugh.
Right.
Yes.
How does Chip Kelly go and release good players and personnel that, it wasn't his guys, but, all right, Colin Kaepernick is one of your guys, but he's going to be your backup quarterback, and you're having a locker room cancer, and Chip Kelly's all about, we can't have locker room cancer.
Because you know why?
See, you know what?
You know why? Because he doesn't have the keys yet.
Well,
he doesn't have the keys.
I question that because he said he didn't have the keys here, and he still had the keys for a lot of the time here. But
do you see where I'm getting at?
Well, you're right, but at the same time, like, you're also wrong because you're right that he's claimed he doesn't like locker room cancers, and that was his reason for getting rid of Shady or getting rid of. But really, no. But hold on,
Riley Cooper.
But hold on, but that's what I'm getting.
Right,
at. For me, it was less with Chip. It was less about locker room cancers, just more about anybody that went against his word. Like, Chip was very, military and very, this is the way it works. This is how we do it. And if you don't like it, get the hell out. So it was more about anybody that questioned the way Chip did things. Got the door, right?
Kaepernick made it well known that he didn't want to be there with Chip Kelly. He wanted to be traded. He wanted to be out.
No, he made it clear that he wanted to be traded before Kelly got there. And then once Chip got there is kind of when he started working out that relationship a little bit more. He was like, all right, well, maybe we can make this work because Chip's here. It's still, it's still just, it's all irrelevant because the guy stinks, and I don't think Chip can save his career. But I don't think with Chip it has to do with locker room cancers, because to your point that you just made, if that was the case, Riley Cooper would have been out the door the moment that video, the moment that video came out at the Kenny Chesney concert. So it has nothing to do with locker room cancers. It just has to do with guys that go against his system. So and as long as Colin,
LaShawn McCoy was against his system.
Oh, absolutely. LaShawn McCoy spoke up numerous times about certain things with the system. Evan Mathis spoke up. That's exactly why he got released. And I mean, that was the common trend with any of the guys. If you went against his system and he kind of had the idea that you weren't 100% all in with the way he did things, you found the door. It's the reason Jason Peters almost got the door. He benched him. That was the closest thing he could do to giving him the heave-ho.
But Jason Peters has a really, really good relationship with Jeffrey Lurie, and that's part of.
I'm sure that was part of the reason why he wasn't.
They got a really, really good relationship, yeah.
Because we were making predictions last year of how much longer Jason Peters would be on this football team, because we all thought Chip was going to give him the heave-ho because that's what he had done to anybody else that went against him. Mm-hmm. Deshaun, Shady, Evan Mathis,
Todd Hermans.
Brandon Boykin. Todd Hermans was probably done anyway. Brandon Boykin, even though Boykin stinks.
Yeah, he got signed. He just got picked up on another team.
He still stinks, though.
Where's he at?
He might have got signed in Seattle or somewhere like that, Pittsburgh again or something. But
he's very bad.
He's not going to see the field. He's very
bad. I mean, have you saw him recently?
He's very bad.
I haven't seen him on the field at all.
No, I haven't saw him recently. But have you?
He's been on rosters, but he didn't see. Like, he was on a roster last year, but didn't really see the field.
He was with the Steelers.
Yeah, and he didn't really see the field. He stinks.
He stinks.
I think.
Terrible.
But far as a nickel corner, as far as being in a slot corner,
he's very bad.
He wants to. Listen to me.
He's very bad.
Part of the reason why Chip Kelly wanted to get something for him for Pittsburgh, okay, is all because of he was basically telling Chip Kelly, hey, listen, I want to be on the outside. I'm a starting corner, right? Pretty much telling Chip Kelly, all right, well, you got 1 year left. We're not going to have you on a corner. We want to put you in nickel. You're a nickel slot corner. That's what you are. You're not on the outside. You're too small. That's what Chip Kelly always said. I want big, tall, strong, powerful.
Unathletic corners.
Yeah, corners. They want tall.
I'm just being smart ass because Eric Rowe, the big knock against him was that he lacked the athleticism to play corner, and that's why they thought he was a hybrid safety.
What was he, 6'1"?
He was 6'1", but Richard Sherman's 6'3", but also, got the athleticism and everything else and the footwork and the fast hips and all that to play out there. Not that Eric Rowe doesn't, but that was the knocks and the things that got talked about with Rowe was they questioned whether he had the athleticism and the fast hips and the stuff like that to be able to play on the outside, that maybe he was more because of his size. But yeah, Chip liked big anything though. That's why Riley Cooper made $25 million, because he was big and apparently he could block. Couldn't catch the football, but he could block.
Maybe.
Yeah, he could block. Maybe he could block too, right? I mean, I always love that he said, he's our best blocking wide receiver. Like, really? Because by that logic, I would have thought we would have seen Shady running down the field with Riley Cooper locked onto a block, just driving somebody backwards and springing Shady for the touchdown. And I don't ever remember seeing that. So,
nope.
I mean, I don't study film the way these NFL guys do, but I mean, I didn't ever see Riley
go back to LaShawn McCoy.
Evidence of a great blocker.
LaShawn McCoy's first year when Chip Kelly was here, when you had that offensive line and Shady was going off. Is it goes to offensive line of what I was saying earlier about you're going to go with the Evan Mathis has the same connection with the Jason Kelsey and the Todd Hermans.
The chemistry
on the offensive line, bro. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, chemistry on the offensive line, yeah, you're right. That is a big deal. But as far as the Shady thing went,
stretching the field, you had a guy that can stretch the field. I mean, it was all in effect.
Shady is a unique running back and a unique rusher because unlike most running backs, DeMarco Murray had all the success he did in Dallas because he's a downhill runner, I formation guy. They had one of the best offensive line in football. So the offensive line really did a great job of opening up holes for him. With Shady's more of a I'm going to shake you and make you miss guy where, the offensive line could, make perfect blocks and he still might not go hit that hole that, was necessarily designed because he's so quick and agile and makes you miss. He'll make you miss, go around the corner and
it drove me as a fan crazy. There's times it'd be 3rd and 1.
And you're just go through the hole.
No. there's times that it'll be 3rd and 1, and usually you got to go right through the hole and go straight. And he would just shake out of nowhere. It would be like there'd be no one around him, and he'd be like, "Woo!" And then he would lose 3 yards. And I'm just like, "What?" Like straight. You know what I mean? 3rd and 1, straight. Go through the hole, and he's trying to. It's like he's juking himself out or something. I don't know.
I used to.
It used to drive me as a fan crazy. I'm telling you, I used to say
with Shady that the only other running back I've ever seen dance the way that he danced and made people miss was Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
Now, Barry Sanders obviously on a whole nother level, but the only guy I've ever seen do it like that, like that's the rushing style, was Barry, where that was his style, where he would dance and completely make you look stupid.
I know.
And then spring one for 60 yards after dancing and making 3 people miss in the backfield.
Well, he's done that. I saw Shady dance and make people miss.
And Shady, to a lesser extent, Barry used to do it at just such an unbelievable
every game.
You're just how does he do this? But Shady, when his explosive plays came, that was what you saw.
Yeah, but 3rd and 1.
Third and 1, go through the damn hole.
3rd and 1, Barry Sanders picking up that first down.
Very true.
He's not dancing and getting a 3-yard loss or a 2-yard loss out of it because he wants to just start jiggling back and forth.
And what was the other thing about Barry that was really underrated, because you always talked about how he danced and was really agile and could make you miss. But Barry, because he was only 5'9", Barry could get really low. And when he got really low on plays, 3rd and 1, 3rd and short yardage, when you're that low, it's the reason Maurice Jones-Drew had a lot of success for about a 5-year period there in Jacksonville. When you get really low and get as low as Barry Sanders could get, it's so hard to stop him on 3rd down and 1. He's just going to get underneath of everything the 6'7", 6'6" offensive linemen, the big 6'3", 6'4" defensive linemen. He's going to get really low. He had really strong legs, a really strong lower body, and if he got that low, there was no way you were going to push him backwards and keep him from getting a yard or two to get that first down. It was almost impossible. What? We're going to go to 3:45.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm aware of the time.
Okay.
Yes, it's not a problem. We want to talk a little bit about the football game from last night to wrap it up, because it's a lot of fun. Obviously, the football season's underway this weekend, and that kicked it all off. So I wanted to put out there, I made a comment on Facebook this morning. I said I had my 3 thoughts, my 3 kind of final thoughts on the football game from last night. 1, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on, 1, whether you guys agreed on this, and 2, your guys' kind of final thoughts on the game when you watched it. One of my thoughts was Trevor Siemian, without question, I think proved he was the right guy to be the starting quarterback for Denver, at least at this moment. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to rush Paxton Lynch into that role. He had the couple turnovers, obviously, but he hung in there. He stood in the pocket strong, really showed a lot of guts,
right.
And he deserved to win that football game. He played well enough, and he, the way he played, for Denver in that football game, he deserved to get that win in his first career start. He hung in there. He showed a lot of guts. He took shots in the pocket. Really, I think, impressed that team as far as, okay, this is our guy.
Let me ask you a question. Well, Vegas odds real quick about the 4.5 points.
Right. Well, I think that had, everything to do with Siemian, and the fact that the Panthers are still the same complete football team they were a year ago.
What I'm saying is Denver was the home dog. Mm-hmm. Denver was getting the 4.5 points. And I know Siemian, he's a new quarterback, and really, was a 7th-round draft pick?
Yeah.
Yep.
7th-round pick.
A few years ago.
Almost Mr. Irrelevant.
But anyway, he came in here, and, I mean, a 4.5. Let me ask you something. Next time Denver Broncos are a 4.5 underdog and they're at home, you going to take them?
I mean, listen,
just saying.
Every situation's different. It depends. Like I said, the way these Vegas lines work, every situation is different. First of all, let's be honest. The Panthers, they hurt themselves a couple different times last night. They shot themselves in the foot a couple different times. Give Denver's defense credit. They made the one really, really good play against Cam on the interception.
Yeah, I like that.
But I really thought what was the difference in that game, and I'm going to push your buttons here because I know how you've torn apart Josh Norman a little bit this offseason. They completely missed Josh Norman last night, and you saw it. The Broncos moved the football up and down the field against them. And remember, they had 2 turnovers in the red zone. They had a fumble on the first drive when they were moving the football. They had an interception in the red zone later on when they were moving the football. Carolina could not stop them from moving the football up and down the field. Really, when you look at it, Denver could have won that game 31-20, 35-20. They had the first drive of the game. They could have put the ball in the end zone, and then they had the drive in the game later where he threw the interception, the underthrown pass where the guy was wide open. Guy's wide open. All Simeon had to do was put a little bit more air on the ball.
Well, it's going to be a good game this week.
And
they got the Steelers this week.
Who does?
Redskins.
The Redskins?
Yeah, Monday night.
Yeah,
the first Monday night.
That's going to be a really good football game.
And then Chip Kelly.
Reports coming in out of that is that Ben Roethlisberger has been in a lot of talks with Antonio Brown about not
Don't let Norman get in your head.
Yep, not letting Josh Norman get in her head. Another
What's your opinion on Josh Norman?
I'll tell you that one second. Other news and notes, Amon Shumpert was now Cleveland has finally announced it, but was arrested last month for DUI suspicion, marijuana suspicion. So he was arrested, and he'll be charged, I'm sure, for that. And Ezekiel Elliott also reports coming out that his girlfriend, Tiffany Thompson, told a friend to lie about the domestic assault that happened in that case.
Of course.
We don't know. I mean, I think it's been thrown out of court now. So we don't, you don't know what's true in these kind of situations. Yeah. But for any athlete that has to go through that crap, as much as I hate the Cowboys, no athlete deserves to go through being. You never want to be
set up.
Yeah, and you never want to be known for a guy who puts his hands on women. Never. That's never something you want to be known for. So, no guy should ever put his hands on a woman, and no woman should ever lie about that if that was the case. But
we get the lies all the time. There's a lies, and I'm not saying like for an example. Okay, he's a scumbag, but Darren Sharper, all right, 18 cases of rape.
Yes. Okay,
he went around. He's getting 18 years now.
25 maybe.
Yeah, 25 something.
Whatever.
Like
he's getting a long time. All right, but you're having guys that are like that are proven that they went and they have DNA and everything else. But you have women that with these professional athletes that are going and they're lying about, oh, he raped me.
Yeah.
Just to go in there so she can get a cash settlement on, you know what I mean?
All about the money.
Do you want a cash settlement now, or do you want this to go to court and you're going to be getting locked up? I mean, that's messed up.
Real quick, because actually I like where this was going, so I want to, and then I'll get Tommy's opinion on Norman after this.
Right.
But besides the Simeon point, because I really felt he impressed that time. I'm sure that team came out of that football game saying, hey, this is our quarterback. A lot of respect. He hung in there. That offensive line probably, really respected him a lot, knowing he hung in there. He played tough. Really, it's not an easy defense to play against. You saw they shut down Peyton, in last year's Super Bowl, and first drive. How about the first, one of the first plays of that first drive, the little pump fake and then the sidearm throw.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Like, I remember thinking, okay, that right there shows you this kid gets it. Like, the moment's not too big for him. It's not like this is overwhelming for him. Like, he's smart enough to make this happen. And I
think that's what Wentz is going to be. I think he's going to be smart. Knowing when, okay, they're coming on me, I'm out of the pocket.
Got a 40 out of 50 on the Wonderlic test.
I'm not going to go and throw the ball up. I'm going to throw the ball out of bounds, stuff like that.
The two other things I took away from the game, okay? Yeah. So Simeon is definitely the right guy for Denver. The second point is Denver and their defense, I'm sorry, we kind of touched on a little bit earlier. I thought they played dirty football last night. And, Cam, you had the moments with Cam where there was 3 or 4 times where, like the one where he scrambled outside the pocket, dumped it off the Olsen. They got the first down. It got called back because of an offensive face mask penalty on the offensive line. But what's his name? Brandon Marshall launched himself and went helmet to helmet with Cam Newton, and it's not called. And I kind of felt like, there's a couple quarterbacks in this league I feel like get this treatment. Newton, Roethlisberger, and the common trend is they're both obviously bigger guys than a normal quarterback. 6'5", 250, and I feel that sometimes because of their size, they don't get the benefit of the doubt of some of these other quarterbacks, and they don't get protected the same way the other quarterbacks do because the NFL just feels like, oh, well, they're a big guy. They can absorb these hits. It's the way they play the game. It's just a part of it. It doesn't matter how you play the game. Helmet to helmet is helmet to helmet. And, it's one thing for it to be helmet to helmet, but when you're launching yourself at somebody and trying to hurt guys, I really don't care who it is. Listen, I don't hate Cam Newton. I think there's some absurd hate out there. I don't necessarily love him either. But, the guy's flossing his teeth on the sideline, and I can see why some people are like, this guy, like flossing your teeth on the sideline. What's up with that? That's not a reason to be okay with a defensive player launching themselves at him and trying to hurt him and take his head off. It's just not okay.
Now did you see Cam Newton? I didn't say it. Did you see him after the game? Like, did they interview him or anything like that?
I didn't see an interview after the game.
I wanted to see if he was gonna moan and groan and
Well, actually, you know what? I did see that.
And kind of cry a little bit.
Greg Olsen was the one that spoke up, and so I don't think Newton did because Greg Olsen was the one that spoke up and said, "Listen, the officials need to do a better job of protecting him. They did not protect him at all in this game. And, I mean, that's what a leader of a team like that is supposed to do. Okay? If Cam come out and says it, he's whining, right? He's complaining, he's whining. It's kind of like when Michael Vick came out the year where he was just getting completely crushed with the Eagles, and he's saying, listen, my offensive line has to block somebody.
Have somebody else come out and forward.
Right, and Michael Vick wasn't wrong when he said when he was with Philly, hey, my offensive line needs to block guys. I don't even have time to drop back and find the open guy and do any of that. Anybody was like, you're the quarterback. You need to take the blame. I was like, he's not wrong. But it would have been better if somebody else, if Jason Kelsey or Peters or somebody on that offensive line would have spoke up and said.
So we got to do a better job on blocking. Officials should do a better job on looking at the hits and stuff like that. Yeah.
So and the third point I took away from that was related to that was the officiating for me was just terrible. And
very bad last night.
Very bad, both ways. And if you want to have terrible officiating in a bad football game with two bad football teams, then knock yourself out. But when you got two really good football teams, I can't stand this bad officiating. It was the same way in the Super Bowl last year, just terrible. And that takes away from the game.
Other than that, it was all out a good game.
It was a good game.
I mean, it went down to the icing. You called the timeout.
Can't believe game.
But that type of stuff shouldn't take away from it. You know what I mean?
No, I understand.
Ray Finkel style.
It was Ray Finkel.
Because Tommy put the post up, on A2D right after the shank.
What's that?
The picture of Ray Finkel.
Oh, did
he? For Ace Ventura.
I put a thing in saying the ice the kicker, Ray Finkel. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Ray Finkel. That was a good analogy.
Yeah.
This has been the Rundown on A2DRadio.com. We've been brought to you by BMW of Atlantic City. Remember, the ultimate driving experience is closer than you think at BMW of Atlantic City, minutes off of exit 37 of the Parkway. Give them a call at 609-568-9200. Also, Scanzano Sports Center, located on the campus of King's Christian High School, 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, 856-889-3434. Visit their website, www.scanzanosports.com.